Hi guys, I'm Marie.
And I'm Maddie.
And we are here recording Lost in the Woods.
Yep.
Welcome back. Although today's episode is Lost at the Beach, I guess. So.
Okay. I don't know about anybody else, but I just checked my bank account and I think I want to cry now. I'm not okay. Christmas did a number.
And yet she still has more in her savings than me. She's just talking about like her actual checking account, you guys, not her savings account.
Okay, yes. Yes, I do have enough to sustain myself off of my savings account, but my checking only has $19 in it currently.
And usually her checking has like a couple thousand, so it's a little scary.
It's a little terrifying.
Yeah. And we're also like making purchases for our trip that we're taking next week.
Yeah, I went to go we're doing this cute little clear kayaking thing, and I went to go pay the $200 that it's going to cost for us to do it. My card got declined, and I was like, what the hell?
She's like, Mom, transfer me money quick. So we're doing all this shady transferring stuff while we're trying to pay for Airbnbs and kayaking. It's fine.
It's fine. It doesn't make me want to cry at all.
So Maddie and I are currently planning our trip to cover one of our cases. It's going to be on our Patreon. We're doing 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing some hiking and some backpacking and some adventuring and all sorts of fun things. So
yes. So like our other trips that we've taken, if you're new to the podcast or just haven't seen any of our extra footage because you're not a Patreon, all of that footage goes onto our Patreon, which we've taken multiple other trips, and you can see all of that on our Patreon, which is live footage of us checking out the crime scenes and the area.
Yeah, staying at the campsites, doing the hikes, going to the places, all that fun stuff.
Seeing dead bodies. It's really great.
Technically, that only happened once.
Okay. Anyway, but it happened. It did. I am traumatized.
I'm still a little traumatized by that.
Still not
too,
okay.
Actually.
The image I don't think will ever leave my brain, but here we are.
Never.
So we've done a couple of those. We're getting ready to go on another one. So
yeah. So if you want to see more of that, go and check out our Patreon. Also on this episode that we are covering today, which is the Beaumont Children, we are going to be doing a live to discuss this case because there's so many things that
Is it a live for our patrons?
Yeah.
This is also for our patrons. We're doing a live for the patrons on this case that we're going to be reading or talking about literally right now.
Yeah, and so first we do that for some of our cases that are a little more complicated or have a lot of theories and stuff like that because we want to hear from our Patreons what their theories are and be able to throw ideas and questions back and forth. So it's just a super fun thing to do.
Yeah. But anyway, without saying, this is a great time to join Patreon because you're about to get a whole bunch of new content, extra content, a lot of extra content. If you join Patreon right now, you have weeks of stuff to listen to.
Right. Yep. All of our bonus stuff is on there. We don't cut it off, so you'll be able to go back and listen and watch every bonus thing that we've ever put out. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our case today. So today we are covering the Beaumont Children, and we have had many requests for this. Also, I have always been fascinated by this case because it is crazy. So Jim and Nancy Beaumont married shortly after meeting and had 3 children, Jane, who was 9, Arna, who was 7, and Grant, who was 4. Jim worked as a traveling salesman for a linen company, and this meant that he was away quite often, and sometimes just for a couple days, sometimes longer, but he would travel for work. And Jane was very mature for her age because she's only 9, remember, but this is also in 1966. So children spent a lot more time running around on their own, unsupervised.
Yeah, I mean a 7, 9-year-old and 4-year-old traveling distance that these kids did today by themselves would be weird.
It would be weird. And this takes place in Australia. So Jane was very mature for her age and wanted to be a teacher. She was well-spoken, and when she got excited, would sometimes stutter. She was shy and cautious. She often watched over her siblings and was very protective of them. Arna was more outgoing and had a very active imagination and would often perform concerts for her family. Little Grant was described as a gentleman and would shadow his father often. And in 1966, the family lived in a suburb home on Harding Street in Somerton Park. The children often caught the bus to go to the beach where they were accustomed to being unsupervised.
So on January 25th, the children wanted to go to the beach, and their dad dropped them off on his way to work. Glenelg Beach, where it would be bustling with locals attempting to escape the sweltering heat of the day. It was a very busy location for locals and tourists. With a heat wave going on, the beach was a perfect place to go and cool off.
Yep.
So Jane is very responsible with her siblings, and Jane would never let anything happen to them.
Right, so their parents weren't nervous about them being at the beach alone. The following day, on January 26th, which was a Wednesday, people in Adelaide were preparing to celebrate Australia Day, and it was a scorching hot day. The children wanted to go back to the beach and begged their mother to take them. Nancy wasn't a fan of the beach, but she told the children that she would take them after her housework was done. But they grew impatient, and she agreed to let them go alone. She decided the bus would be the best option because of the heat, even though the beach was within walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
So the beach is actually really close to where they live, but it's so hot out that she doesn't want them walking in the heat.
Makes sense. Jane was thin with freckles and had sun-bleached hair that was cropped into a short bob. She was wearing a pink one-piece bathing suit with pale green shorts. So Arna was described as plump, which I would say Arna looked like a normal child to me.
She's not even plump. If you look at the pictures of her, she looks just like a normal child.
But
so
she's
I don't know why.
described as plump everywhere. But I'm assuming maybe it's because Jane was so scrawny that's why they describe her as plump.
I don't know. It's so bizarre.
She looks like a normal-sized child to me. I disagree with that. But that is what it says literally everywhere.
Literally everywhere.
So she had short, dark brown hair, and she was wearing a red and white striped one piece with tan shorts. Grant was thin with short brown hair and wore green and white shorts with green shoes and no shirt. Jane packed 3 towels and a paperback copy of Little Women in her beach bag.
Yep. And Nancy actually gave them 8 shillings and a sixpence to buy lunch from the shop and to buy their bus tickets. Jane carefully put it into her white click-top pouch, and they left home at about 8:45 a.m. By 10:30 a.m., Nancy had finished her house chores and headed to visit a friend who lived nearby. And around noon, she headed to the Diagonal bus stop to meet up with the children, and when the bus got there, they did not get off. Only one adult female did. She assumed that they had missed the bus and would catch the next one. She went home unworried. And once home, a couple of her friends stopped by for a visit. She continued to watch for the children, but by 2 p.m., they still hadn't made an appearance, which was kind of unlike them.
Jim would return home early from a business trip just before 3 p.m. They weren't overly worried because an accident involving all 3 children was unlikely.
Right.
So he went in search of his children, assuming that they had just missed their bus, but he was unable to locate them at the bus stop or anywhere on the beach.
And remember, the beach is really crowded, so it would be really difficult to scan a huge beach for your children when it's crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jim and Nancy went knocking on doors in an attempt to find anyone that had seen their children. When this proved fruitless, they went to the Glenelg police station. Yeah, fruitless.
What is the English language?
What do you mean?
Fruitless?
Fruitless.
Proven fruitless?
Yeah, like it didn't work out. Like they were unable to find anything. Have you never heard that before?
No.
Okay.
I've never heard fruitless.
Really?
Something turned up fruitless?
Yeah.
Fruitless.
Fruitless. Yeah.
Fruitless.
It's a word. Look it up.
I'm not questioning whether or not it's a word. I'm questioning the entire English language at this point because
Perfect.
What is that?
Okay. Now, when this proved fruitless, they went to the Glen Elg police station and reported their children missing. And this was around 5:30 p.m. The police were not very concerned because a kidnapping of 3 children was unheard of and assured them that they were probably just held up somewhere. The police did search the house, thinking it likely that the children might have been hiding from their parents in order to not get in trouble for being late. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure all 3 children are just hiding in the house and you guys didn't notice that they were home.
Hey, remember that one little girl that went missing?
She goes missing. The parents call.
We've told the story before on the podcast.
Yeah.
But we'll go forward again for anybody who wasn't listening. And this is off,
So this call comes out that this little girl, 3 years old, I think.
3 or 4.
3 or 4. She's missing. And it's starting to get dark out. It's late. And they call the police, and multiple police officers search the house to make sure she's not in it.
Also, you got to remember that what happened was the entire neighborhood band together. The whole entire town is out looking for this girl.
Hundreds and hundreds of people showed up searching.
People have their drones out.
I was even out there. And part of that is because it's all wooded area behind their house. And so the thought was maybe she wandered into the woods. And everybody was terrified. It was super cold. It was not good weather.
Yeah, we had the whole. I don't know if it was cold. I don't know.
It was cold.
I thought it was over the summer.
No, it was still really cold.
Oh, okay. Well, it was like there were dogs, drones, all searching. All literally everybody was out looking for this little girl. And then a couple hours into the search, all of a sudden the grandma pulls up and just walks inside the house and finds the little girl hiding in a bedroom.
She was sleeping in a bed, I don't know, nobody saw her. I don't know. So we do know that children end up hiding in houses sometimes, right? But 3 children, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
By the next day, there was a $250 reward being offered. The South Australian police log does detail slightly different than what I have read everywhere else, because they state that at 7:20 p.m., South Australian woman reports children missing, reported to Glen Elg police by father minutes before. Father and police carried out thorough search of the beach area. 8:40 p.m., local police searched the Brighton foreshore. Officers also searched West Beach and Henley Beach for children. 9:50 p.m., Sea Rescue Squadron volunteers offered to search coastline. Police declined official expression, but advised squadron can search on their own accord. 10 p.m., police check with father, who reports he has spoken with friends and relatives and cannot locate the children. The father authorizes police to supply radio stations with public announcement. 10:17 p.m., 3 police officers report that they have searched vessels at Boat Haven and surrounding lawns, with the children not sighted. So it looks like nothing went out to the public really until after 10 p.m. But remember, it sounds like the police didn't really think the children had been kidnapped. They were just hiding, lost, whatever. They got held up somewhere, something like that.
So the beach was scoured by police, but the beaches were crowded late into the day and the heat continued on. There was no sign of their towels, bags, clothes. This would suggest that they didn't drown in the ocean.
Right, because they're thinking maybe the little one goes into the water and the 2 older girls try to save him or something like that, and they all end up drowning. Yeah. But their belongings are nowhere to be found.
So Nancy was a wreck and felt responsible for allowing the children to go on their own. She worried that their love for each other was so strong that if one of them was hurt or fell into a hole, the others may have followed or wouldn't leave their sibling. The thought of a kidnapping seemed impossible.
Yeah, and she actually had to be sedated.
So roadblocks were set up, train stations were monitored, property and buildings were searched, cab drivers were out searching.
Jim actually used to be a cab driver, so all of his old coworkers, they all went out looking in their cabs. And Jane's brownie group was out on their bikes searching for their missing friend.
Oh, that's so sad.
So sad.
Her little Girl Scout friends.
Mm-hmm. A woman came forward saying that she had seen 3 children at 7 p.m. at the Padawalonga boat haven near the water's edge. She said she spoke to them and that they weren't from the area. Police actually decided to drain the marina, which was about 70 acres, but nothing was found. And hundreds of witnesses actually came forward. There were reports of the children being seen everywhere. And we know that any 3 children anywhere in Australia are going to be the Beaumont children. With multiple witnesses coming forward, they were able to establish what sightings were more reliable. So at 10:15, the children were seen boarding the bus at the Diagonal station. The driver remembered them, and an elderly couple recalled Jane reading Little Women on the bus, while the younger kids kept putting their arms out the windows, and they thought this was to try to get a rise out of Jane.
I believe it.
I believe it.
Little siblings are assholes. If I said don't stick your hand out the window.
Or if you were trying to like enjoy a book, they would definitely be like trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got off the bus at Mosley Street. It was here that the mailman who knew the children from his route saw them walking down the street holding hands and heard one of the children say, "Look, there's our postie." And little Grant waved hello. Now, the postman couldn't remember what time he had seen the children, but police believe that it had to have been in the morning because he couldn't remember if it was morning or afternoon when he had seen them.
Okay.
But because there were no other sightings of the children near the bus stop in the afternoon, they're assuming that this took place in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
So they were seen playing in the shallow water north of the jetty. So shortly after 11 a.m., the children left the water and headed near the Cooley Reserve where they laid out their towels. A school friend of Jane's had seen them there.
Right. And other people had as well, so this seemed like a credible series of events. Multiple witnesses had seen a man at the beach that day hanging around the children. He was described as being in his 30s, about 6'4", and was wearing a blue Speedo with distinct white stripes. He was tall and slender with blonde hair, and he was described as very sun-baked and looked like he spent a lot of time in the sun. He laid his towel near the children, and soon the children were running around and interacting with the man. So a lot of people on the beach described it as this was somebody the children knew or seemed to be. And other witnesses said that the children seemed very comfortable with him. Before noon, the children entered Winsel's cake shop where they had purchased lunch before. And it was also right near the bus stop. The shop owner said that Jane had paid with a £1 note. They bought 5 pastries, 6 finger buns, and 2 large soft drinks. And one of the children said, "and a pie for the man." The shop owner thought that this was unusual because the children had never bought this many items or spent this much money in the shop before. And also remember that their mom had not given them that much money.
Yeah, and he also said that he had never seen them pay with a £1 note before.
Right. And they probably never have even had that much money in their possession before.
So the man probably gave them money.
Mm-hmm.
Then didn't go into the shop with them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The next sighting of them was near the surf club, talking to the same blonde man. And he asked an older couple, quite loudly actually, if they had seen anyone going through their things and said that someone had nicked their money. He then went back to the children and started helping the girls put their shorts on over their bathing suits. And one of the witnesses thought this was odd because the girls seemed too old to really need help putting on their shorts.
They were.
Yeah. And this was around 12:15. So at this point, they've already missed the bus. The noon bus, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last confirmable sighting of the children. A sketch was drawn up of the man, but a lot of details could not be remembered.
Which this is pretty common. I mean, like, we did we did tests when I was in school about like, we had like random people walk into our classroom, say something and walk out without saying anything. And we had no idea that it was part of anything.
Yeah.
And then later we were asked to remember what happened. Because what happened was weird. They came in, they yelled something in the middle of the room, and then they walked out.
Right.
The person was not from our class or anything. And not one person could remember every single detail.
Right.
Not one person could remember what he said, exactly what he was wearing. Like, nobody could exactly remember. Not one person in the room could remember every single detail. So,
Right. Well, and that's pretty normal, right? I mean, especially in a situation like this, you're at a crowded beach, it's somebody you don't know, and you just see what you think is a family interacting on the beach.
And even if you take note of that and you're like, oh, that's weird, the chances of you
remembering specific details.
Yeah, I'm pretty observant. I observe details pretty well, but not even I could remember. I got his shirt color wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, Nancy, when hearing about this man, she recalled that her daughter Arna had been teasing Jane and said, Jane's got a boyfriend down at the beach, and she had thought that this was just the girl teasing about some boy that Jane had met on a previous outing. But now she thought that maybe this man, this sun-baked man, had actually befriended her children at an earlier time. So the theory became that the children had met the man before.
Totally possible.
It just makes my heart hurt, makes my stomach turn. Weeks go by and nothing is found. A 500-pound reward was offered, and the local community thought that it wasn't enough, and with donations, it grew to 10,000 pounds. And the Beaumonts said that they would sell their house to pay more. I just literally cannot imagine losing all three of my children like this. I literally just can't.
Did you know that actually also this has to do with 3 children? 3 children is the hardest number of children to have.
I believe it.
Voted by parents. Like, parents who have a large amount of children said that when they had 3, it was the worst number of kids to have.
Well, 3. I always say that going from 2 to 3 was the hardest for me. And then everything after that was the same. It was all the same.
Yeah, that's what they say, is that after 3, everything's the same after that. But having 3 was the worst. Well, because 2 to 3,
you become outnumbered. Now, this reward actually led to lots of false leads. And people would even show up on the Beaumonts' doorstep. And the Beaumonts listened to every single lead, every single call, every single letter. They listened to everyone.
It's tragic.
So tragic. And in November of 1966, police flew in Dutch clairvoyant Gerald Cressette. He claimed to have a vision about the Beaumont children. Gerald held a press conference where he said that he believed they were buried under a newly constructed warehouse on an old brick factory. He said that he believed the children had been playing there and had fallen through some planks, and that they were underground a bit. Police did not believe that the children were there, but the community actually raised enough money to excavate the property. They found an old staircase, a brick kiln, a piece of cloth, lolly wrappers, lemon peel, but no sign of the children. There were other clairvoyants that also made claims about the children being kidnapped or buried, like we have in every kidnapping.
In 1968,
so 2 years after the children went missing,
the Beaumonts received a letter in the mail, and this letter was supposedly. This letter was supposedly sent by Jane and reads, "Dear Mom and Dad, we are safe and there is no need to worry about us. Oh, we really miss you. In the past 2 years, at the beach, on the day we were walking to the bus stop when a man in a car stopped us and asked if we wanted a ride. I said that we did, and that's how it all started. The man would not let us write before. He is letting us write now because he saw the article in the Herald tonight and felt sorry for you both. He watched us a lot for about 6 weeks and then did not watch us so much." Arna and I often talk about you, but Grant does not remember you at all after more than 2 years. We have been fed well all the time. I, as well as Arna and Grant, hope you both well. The man said to me just now that he is willing to let us go if you just come over to Victoria to get us, as long as you do not call the police. She requested that her father come and get them. The pickup was outside a post office at 8:50 a.m. on February 26th, on a Monday. He was to wear a dark coat and light pants. They believed it was possible that the letter was written by Jane, but there was a problem. Arna's name had been spelt wrong.
Right, it was missing one of the N's, so it was spelled A-R-N-A instead of A-R-N-N-A. So they contacted the police even though the letter instructed them not to. Police helped them arrange the trip and tried to keep it a secret. But when a police officer called to book the hotel, he gave his real name, and the owner contacted the local police to have them run a background check on the guest because there had been some recent issues. And after discovering that the man was an officer and involved with the Beaumont case, he called a reporter. Cool. Reporters showed up. While Jim stood outside the post office alone, the post office received a call from a man asking them to inform Jim that he was running late, but would be there. He also called other businesses to do the same, but no one ever showed. Jim stayed outside the post office for 3 days. The first was from Jane, saying that their captor was very disappointed that the Beaumonts brought the police with them. The second letter was from the captor himself, saying, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Beaumont, I am terribly sorry that I could not hand your children back to you." He said that he had spotted detectives and decided to leave. He said, "I am taking good care of the kiddies for you." He blamed them and said that it was too late now, but that he would send them home on the train sometime in the future, and they should have their rooms ready for them. A week later, they received a third letter from Jane that said, "I want you all to know and never forget, no matter what happens, that we will still love you both very much."
So in 1981, handwriting experts were certain one of the letters were written by Jane, but it was later proven with forensic fingerprints that it was actually a man who had written them as a joke. The man was just a teenager at the time and had expressed remorse for his part in causing the family pain.
So it was just a prank the whole time.
You're an asshole. You're an asshole.
Even if you're a teenager, you're an asshole.
I hope you die a painful death.
Okay, that's a little far.
I don't care. That's rude.
You're a dick either way.
That's terrible. And then the parents probably blamed themselves for so long, thinking that they got their kids killed because they got the police involved, or that they weren't going to get their kids back because...
Yeah, well, because the forensic fingerprinting was not done until like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time they're thinking this could have been letters from our daughter. Like, you're a dick. You're a dick.
You're a terrible person.
In March of 1986, 3 suitcases were found in a residential garbage can, and the cases were stuffed with newspaper clippings with things crossed out and comments scribbled in red ink. One of the comments was, "Not in Sand Hills, in the sewage drain." The police discovered that it had actually belonged to an amateur sleuth who was passionate about the case, and when she died, her family had just thrown out the suitcases. So for a minute, they're like, "Oh my God, was this the kidnapper?"
Nope.
All right, and next we are going to be moving into suspects.
Okay, so our first suspect is Harry Phipps, and in 2013, Channel 7 News did their own investigation, and they named Harry Phipps a potential suspect. His son Hayden Phipps, who was 15 at the time that the children went missing, he claimed that he had seen the children at his childhood home. So,
yeah.
He also said that he was violently abused by his father. His father died in 2004, but police did a search of the North Plimpton factory that was formerly owned by Mr. Phipps. But they found nothing. They didn't find anything.
Yeah. And 2 men also came forward saying that Harry Phipps had paid them to dig a large hole on the property shortly after the children went missing. They were both given a £1 note for their work. Ground-penetrating radar, however, was used, and a section with anomalies was dug up, but nothing was found. The soil was tested, which was paid for by Channel 7 News, and it showed that the soil at the site had been moved. But even after extensive searching, no evidence of the Beaumont children has ever been found there.
Okay.
Which, remember, one thing that I think we have to keep in mind is there's a reward.
Yeah. There's a reward, a big reward.
A big reward. So I think maybe when some people come forward, they don't realize that the children actually have to be found. Like either alive or their bodies have to be found, probably for that reward to be cashed out. But it's crazy that Channel 7 News did their own investigation and came up with this information. So it's not like this guy came forward to the police. Maybe he did at some point. I'm not sure.
Who knows?
But yeah. We then have Alan Mcintyre and Anthony Monroe. Mcintyre's children accused him of being a pedophile and of abusing them. They also claimed that their dad and Monroe had been at the Glendale Beach on Australia Day in 1966. Both came home agitated, and there was blood and sand in the car. One also claimed that they had seen the dead children in the boot of the car. Police could find no connections, however, to Mcintyre, Monroe, or the Beaumont children, or any proof that they were there. Mcintyre did later confess that Monroe was the one involved and had shown it up at his house with the children in his trunk. Monroe later pleaded guilty to 10 unrelated child sex crimes and received 10 years with a non-parole period of 5 years.
Okay, so did the guy just find, did he just see random kids dead in his friend's
No, I don't think so. Well, I think both dads in these cases were probably abusive, sexually and physically.
Yeah.
And somehow we have 2 different eyewitness accounts of seeing the children, which isn't possible, right? We have one from the son of Harry Phipps, and we have one from the son of Mcintyre. So, I don't know. But there's more. Another one that we have is Arthur Brown, and he was a suspect in the murders of 2 sisters named Judith and Susan McKay, who were 5 and 7. So right in that same age range that
2 of the kids are in.
2 of the Beaumont children were. He was not arrested for 30 years, and after his arrest, his photo was circulated, and a witness came forward saying that he resembled the man who abducted Joanne Ratcliffe and Kirsten Arthur. Now, this man has been compared to the sketch of the man that was with the Beaumont children the day at the beach. This is not the first time that this connection has been made. Right. We'll talk about that case when we talk about similar cases, because I do think it's worth mentioning that case. But by the time that Arthur Brown was captured, because remember, he's not found for 30 years.
Yeah.
He suffered from Alzheimer's and died without ever being convicted of any crime.
Oh.
I know. That's so annoying. But they do believe that he is responsible for Judith and Susan McKay, regardless. But they've never been able to connect him to Joanne Ratcliffe and Kirsten Arthur or the Beaumont children.
So we have Derrick Ernest Percy. He abducted and murdered a 12-year-old at another beach in Australia. He was found incompetent to stand trial, but he was a suspect of many crimes against children. And he said he was in Adelaide at the same time of the disappearance, but he was only 17 at the time.
Right. So his general crimes kind of match up with what you would suspect, but they don't think that he's old enough to...
Yeah, because didn't they say that the man looked older that was talking to
like mid-30s or something. Yeah. So I don't think I don't think that Derrick Percy was old enough to be involved in the Beaumont Children.
Yeah, because I also feel like if that was him, then if someone saw a 17-year-old with those kids, I think they probably would have just assumed it was a sibling. And then we have James Ryan O'Neill, who had kidnapped and murdered young boys and had been in Adelaide many times, and he had bragged that he was responsible for murdering and kidnapping of the children, but he was ruled out.
Yeah,
I guess he must have not, it wasn't possible for him to have done it, even though he bragged about doing it.
Yeah, I think this is just somebody who wanted
the
some attention, yeah.
Okay, gross.
Now, the last one we're going to talk about is Harry Phibbs, and he was a millionaire businessman who lived in Adelaide.
Didn't we just talk about Harry Phibbs?
No. Harry Phipps.
Are you sure? Harry Phibbs?
No, they're two different people. Harry Phibbs and Harry Phipps.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Harry Phibbs, not Harry Phipps, who we already talked about.
I'm confused. I think it's the same person. I'm convinced.
Why?
Too close. No.
Okay. So Harry Phibbs was a millionaire businessman who lived in Adelaide at the time of the disappearance and lived in walking distance to the beach. He also resembled the man last seen with the children.
Naturally.
An investigator had gone to the house that he lived in at the time, and Phibbs is long since dead, but his second wife still lived there in the house. And while there, the investigator saw an antique click-top purse sitting on a shelf. And when he asked her about it, she became defensive and said that she had bought it at a secondhand store the week before. He found this very strange because she's a millionaire, has lots of money, and it just seemed strange to him. He informed police, but when they returned to the house to collect it, she had thrown it away, and it was nowhere to be found. His son, who was a teenager at the time, said that his father had come home with 3 young children, who he never saw again. So here we have another child.
Suspicious.
Claiming that their father has come home with 3 children.
The purse is weird, though. Purse is very weird.
I actually do find the purse very weird as well. And the fact that she threw it away.
Hey, dude, there's a Criminal Minds episode where the girl has memories come up from when she was a really young kid about her dad kidnapping children.
Oh, yeah. I just watched that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens. Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Can always connect everything back to Criminal Minds. But I would say that it could be dreams. Like, it could literally be the kid, them dreaming
it could
about
be,
it.
but I doubt that 3 different fathers came home with a set of 3 children.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some of them could have just been dreams. Like them hearing about the case as a kid and then dreaming about it.
Having it be a traumatic thing.
Yeah, because you watch it on the news or you hear about your parents talk about it and then you're like a little kid and you dream about the kids and then you get confused, your memory.
Yeah. Well, and out of those, I do like the Harry Phibbs the best because he lives within walking distance of the beach.
The purse.
His dad
resembling.
Right, and he resembles the sketch.
And he's the right age.
However, I don't find compelling evidence that any of these suspects are responsible.
No.
Okay. Jim and Nancy actually left their home as they had the day the children left. Their clothes and toys sat out, and they just couldn't bring themselves to remove them for a really long time. However, the couple did eventually get divorced and leave the home behind. I mean, this would be, you have your 3 children together and then they're gone. And Nancy actually tried going out on the road with her husband for work. Like, they tried to put it behind them and they just couldn't move on.
Yeah. I don't know how your life is the same after something like that.
Well, Jim actually said that life wasn't any good without the children, not after they had them. I did want to revisit the Joanne Ratcliffe and Kirsty Gordon. And by the way, I did say Kirsten Arthur earlier. I meant Kirsten Gordon. Not sure how I got Arthur in my head, but I think it was because we were talking about Arthur Brown at the time. But it's Joanne Ratcliffe and Christine Gordon. So Joanne was 11 and Kirsty was 4, right?
Okay.
They are both at a football game at a stadium, crowded stadium full of people. 4-year-old Kirsty is there with her grandmother, and Joanne is there with her parents. Now, they're sitting by each other, and they knew each other as well. And at one point, Kirsty says that she needs to go to the bathroom. So Joanne offers to take her to the bathroom.
Yeah.
She's 11. I would have zero issue with that. They go to the bathroom. They come back. Everything's fine. Later on in the game, they need to use the bathroom again. So they go to the bathroom, and they never come back.
Okay.
They completely vanish. Well, maybe not completely. There are actually witnesses who see a man carrying a young girl.
Oh, no. Did he carry her out like she was throwing a fit? He
Yep.
like smothered her a little bit? Like
Yep. Well, not only that, but Joanne is chasing after him, holding on to his shirt, trying to make him stop. And they thought that it was just a parent taking the child who was pitching a fit out of the stadium.
Oh my God.
So multiple people actually saw this altercation, and multiple people didn't think that it was anything sinister.
No.
And the sketch of that man does resemble the sketch of the man at the beach. Now, I will say, this is a very similar kidnapping in some ways, but in other ways, not so much, because whoever kidnapped the Beaumont children took great care to befriend them
Yeah.
and make them comfortable.
He spent a lot of time at that beach.
Right. So,
Or like they people thought that they already knew each other.
right. So this is a little different than that, but still very, very traumatizing.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
There are, I will say, a lot of other similar, or not similar, but a lot of kidnappings in Australia where multiple children are taken. Yeah, so I don't know. It's crazy, crazy. I'll put a link to some articles that I did come across. One has, I think, like 4 similar kidnapping cases. So if you want to look for more of that, you can. We are not going to have a bunker talk on this episode because we are actually going to do a live on this episode.
Yes.
So for our Patreons, we are going to do a live so that everybody can discuss their theories and all of that stuff, and let us know what you guys think, and we can all kind of like just talk it out on there. We are going to do it a full week after the episode post so that all of our Patreons have an opportunity to listen to the episode before we do the live.
Yeah.
And we've already posted a poll to do that for the times anyway. So if you're a Patreon, go and fill that out. Now, if you're not a Patreon, you should probably join Patreon. But either way, we have new Patreons.
Yes.
Or new patrons. Patrons? Patreons?
Patrons.
I don't know.
Patrons.
I don't know. So we have new to Patreon. We have Jason Goodwell. Hi, Jason. Welcome to Patreon.
We have Reggie Gregg.
Hi, Reggie. We have Barry Lazaras.
And Noelle Bennett.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Patreon. We really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting us and making it so that we can continue
to literally make episodes for this podcast.
To do what we're doing. Yeah. Thank you so much. And we look forward to...
I look forward to giving you guys extra content.
Yes. I know we leave for our trip in 1 week.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we leave in like 1 week. Yeah. Super exciting. All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys. And we will talk to you later. Bye.
You can like rent a miniature horse with your kids.
And what, just walk around with your miniature horse?
No, my time with a miniature horse.
Okay.
Oh my god, they're like little... Why you just get to walk miniature horses?
I guess.
What the hell? That is so cute.
It is really cute, actually. Can we just hang out with the miniature horses? I don't want to take them for a walk. That looks weird. Okay, focus up.
I'm sorry.
Madison's getting distracted again.
Welcome to Soul Haven Ranch, where we share the unconditional love between horses and human. Where the sharing of unconditional love between horses and human is our passion. When you arrive, stroll out of the barn, gaze into the pasture. It's time to choose a miniature horse that you'll be spending the next hour with. One-on-one. Your experience begins in the barn. You connect with grooming the head of your miniature horse. You will be brushing mane to tail and body. You also learn how to clean their hooves.
Basically,
a healthy horse has healthy feet.
Basically, they've tricked people into paying $50 to groom their horses.
To literally take care and feed their horses.
They're mini horses. Hey guys, I have a brilliant idea. We will never have to brush, clean, or feed these horses again.
Or
we're gonna
them.
fucking charge people $50 to come in here and do it for us.
We guaranteed your soul will be touched, and we hope you leave with new learnings and a special connection and appreciation.
I don't want anybody touching my soul.
For our horses. Willing to share the unconditional love of this experience is best suited for folks who want a one-on-one interaction with our miniature horses.
Okay, guys. I like that the guy on the first picture is like this muscular, like...
Obviously doing it with his, like, it's obviously for their 2 daughters.
Obviously.
But it is like this buff guy, buff bald man walking next to a miniature horse.
So if you're going to Florida anytime soon and you want to spend some time getting your soul touched by hanging out with a miniature horse, Maddie's found the ad for you.
You also, if you don't want your own miniature horse, you still have to pay $20 for viewing. For spectating.
To watch other people walk mini horses? What the fuck? I can't. And they're basically just like walking their mini horses down like a like paved street. I don't even know what's going on here. Why is that guy walking a miniature horse by himself?
He's having his soul touched by a miniature horse, Mom.
I don't want to go there.
He's having the one-on-one unconditional connection with the miniature. Oh my god.
I don't like it. You can't even ride them.
Oh my
god. Can I ride the miniature horse?
No, you can't ride a miniature horse, Mom. That thing's at like your knees.
I'm not paying $50 if I can't ride the miniature horse.